and his former advisor Samuel Muofhe are to appear before the Commission of Inquiry into State Capture in Parktown this morning. Ramatlhodi was the Minister of Mineral Resources before former President Jacob Zuma moved him to public service and administration in September 2015. Yesterday, ANC National Chairperson Gwede Mantashe said he is under no pressure to clear his name. Mantashe was speaking on the sidelines of the Commission. He presented the ANC's evidence in which he sought to clarify why the party had previously met with the country's big four banks. Mantashe told the Commission that state capture was a reality. He's expected to return to the Commission at a later stage to respond to the testimonies of the witnesses who have implicated him. Okay, let's get more on this story now. As always, we cross live to our reporter, a senior reporter, Mzwandile Mbeje, standing by to give us the latest. Hey, Mzwai, thank you very much indeed for your time. So, okay, yesterday we heard from Mr. Mantashe explaining why the ANC met with the banks. Give us some of the highlights from yesterday.
A very good morning to you, Blaine. The chairperson of the ANC, Gwede Mantashe, really was here leading the ANC delegation to respond specifically to the banks. Remember, when the banks closed the Gupta accounts, there was an outcry from various quarters to say there will be a number of people who will lose their jobs. And of course, the ANC, being the governing party, getting all sorts of pressure from various sectors as well. So somehow then had this meeting with the banks. But it made it clear that the meetings really were about to understand their actions. What is it that informed their actions that, all of them almost at once are taking a similar action? So basically that was what the ANC wanted to understand from the banks. And it says after meeting them and understood how they operate, they couldn't do much more. So remember, they cannot really instruct the banks what to do. And the banks had put their side apparently very clear to say they had been one of the financial institutions really in the country that had put the country on the map. It was ranked as one of the top 10 countries insofar as financial strength of the institutions are concerned. So given all those things, so the ANC then wouldn't have any further engagement with the banks. So basically, that was the specific response the ANC was coming to this commission to give. As you have said there in your intro, at a later stage, they would come back and respond to a number of allegations and give their own version, because many people have been saying, given that most of the people who are appearing here are ANC people, it's tantamount really to bring the ANC on trial. But they've made it clear that, you know what, so they support this process. They are actually the ones who made it possible for this commission to sit. So they will be the ones really who will make sure that they call everyone to come here. You know that at some point, perhaps towards closure, the president of the party will be the one who will lead the ANC to come and also present their version.
Understand that it's going to be done in four parts, isn't it? So there's a chance that Mr. Mantashe will likely come back and address those allegations made by Barbara Hogan.
Absolutely. Remember, Mr. Mantashe was the Secretary General of the ANC for 10 years. So many of the things that were happening, so people would really go to Luthuli House. And of course, as the Secretary General, you are basically the CEO of the company. So, and if people need to speak about certain things, they need to interact with the ANC, Mr. Mantashe would be the one. That's why when we said to him, your name keeps coming up, he says he expects it to keep coming up even more, because for 10 years he was the Secretary General of the ANC. And of course, many of those people deployed in government are deployees of the ANC. From time to time, the ANC would want to hear from its deployees, so what's going on and stuff like that. Particularly when you come to the issue of Barbara Hogan. So he says there, they would come and specifically respond because he feels some of the things that Ms. Hogan may have said don't really represent the true picture of what the ANC does. Remember, Ms. Hogan made it clear that as far as she was concerned, the deployment committee was actually not useful. So she saw no need for its existence. So Mr. Mantashe then Plain would be able really to give a clear picture as to what actually happens if the ANC calls the ministers to the House, so under what conditions, and how far do they go? So how far do they allow the state to operate on its own without interfering? So those are all the things that the ANC Plain would really put on the table and clarify them.
Yeah.
And of course, Mr. Mantashe himself, some of those who have been saying certain things about him, so he will also get an opportunity to respond to those. But as you know, so the bigger one will be when President Cyril Ramaphosa leads that delegation to the Zondo Commission.
Yeah. Let's talk about what happened earlier yesterday morning. I mean, the interactions between Advocate Maleka and Mzwandile Mbeje was, well, tense to say the least, isn't it? How did that change the dynamic of the room at that stage? And post, maybe a day later, what sort of sentiment are you getting from the ground, from the legal team as well?
They were able to resolve that issue Plain. Remember, Mr. Mbeje had complained really to say the kind of treatment he was getting was not the same as the treatment that was meted out to other people who had come before the commission. So he said it appeared he was in court, the manner in which he was being interrogated and cross-examined. So he then raised that concern to say, I mean, if things continued like that, perhaps Mr. Maleka would have to recuse himself. But of course, we took a short adjournment to try and resolve this issue, and then it was resolved, and then Mr. Mbeje continued to give evidence because he said he didn't want to be seen as the one who is the stumbling block to the work of this commission. So I think they did come to some sort of understanding to say perhaps there may be a misunderstanding here and there. But what I would probably assume is the reason why the cross-examination may have been different from Mr. Mbeje to others is that, remember, many of the witnesses that have been coming forward here so have been coming on their own, basically to present their own versions as to what happened. And then the evidence leaders would then assist them in explaining even more and getting as much information as possible. But it was different with Mr. Mbeje, particularly the issue of yesterday, because yesterday it is the commission that had wanted him to come because they had said there are a few questions they wanted to put to him so that he could be able to clarify. Remember, Pumla Williams implicated him in a number of things that were happening at GCIS. So I would assume perhaps that's the reason. That is why it was different when he presented his own version last week, because that was his own. If, for example, there is someone who has an issue with that version that he presented, so he had that someone would have the opportunity perhaps to apply and interrogate it, and that witness could perhaps subjected to the same treatment that he got. Yeah. But on the whole, Plain, so they were able really to come to an understanding to say the work of the commission must still continue. It must not be hampered by perhaps a few misunderstandings here and there.
Yeah. Look, another busy day, I understand, at the commission. We're expecting 2 witnesses. So what can we expect today?
Today, Plain is the former Minister of Mining or Mineral Resources, Minister Ngoako Ramatlhodi, and his former advisor, Samuel Muofhe. So those are the people who are expected really to take the stand today. So we expect them to really shed more light on perhaps the circumstances of his movement from that department to Public Service Administration. Remember, there was issues involving the Optimum coal mine, so which has connections to the Guptas. So we expect really that the session today will perhaps look and delve more into those issues when the commission resumes at 10. And of course, I would assume the special advisor, Mr. Muofhe, would be able to perhaps corroborate some of the things that his minister would have said.
Yeah. On a side issue, Mzwai, just tell us in terms of the investigation about those SABC items that were stolen. Any update?
So far, Blaine, there are no updates, but this is the issue really that everyone is taking very, very seriously. Even the judge yesterday made some comments to say, so he had been made aware that there were equipments of the SABC that was stolen inside the commission. I mean, he committed to say he will engage with the secretary of the commission to make sure that the media is not hampered in its work, because the work of the media is quite important. So if need be, then there will have to be someone permanently stationed at the commission, let's say during breaks, so that those equipments are secured. From the side of the police, all we know at the moment is that they are continuing with investigations. Fortunately, they do have some of the video footage which should really assist in terms of trying down this individual. But beyond that, Blaine, so there hasn't been anything else.
Yeah, so prior to this incident, what was the security measures like at the commission? Was it strict?
Please repeat that, Blaine.
So I was just asking, prior to this incident, what was the security measures like there at the commission? Oh,
the security here, Blaine, is quite strict, so to speak. When you come here, and as I said this previously as well, when you come here, no, you just don't walk up to where the commission is. It's being held at on the fourth floor of the building where we are. Before you can even get in there, so you have to register and you have to produce your ID, and then you have to be given a tag, and then you can go up there. Even when you go into the commission, so you have to go through the scanners. So that is the type of situation in terms of security. And there's also a number of police officers, like the SAPS, together with the security from the commission. So it's quite strict. But I think in this instance, it could have been someone really who may have pretended to be a member of the public. Remember, this commission is also open to the members of the public. Whoever wants to come and attend, so can also do that. But even those members of the public get subjected to the same treatment. So if they really paid attention to who came to the commission on the day, perhaps it should be much easier to get the lead.
Mzwai, thank you very much indeed, my friend. We'll catch up with you a little later on. That was our senior reporter, Mzwandile Mbeje, live for us at Parktown Johannesburg.